me amazing things. They've shown me that equines are the bridge to a deeper understanding of the meaning of life and a better sense of ourselves in this world. I'm Meredith Hodges, and I'd like to share with you some of the people I've met and the experiences that I've had along life's journey with those magnificent mules. In 1979, that was about the time my mother was wrapping up Windy Valley Ranch. She and her husband Ed had decided that the mule thing was getting to be a little cumbersome for them. They were getting older, they wanted to travel. So they just decided to disperse Windy Valley Ranch, and at that time we had quite a few mules for sale. Brood mares, Jennets, Jacks. And I watched all these animals be sold and go off to all these various places. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm never going to see them again. And a lot of them ended up in the Grand Canyon, which was kind of cool. I thought, you know, they were show mules, but they were good mules. And it was nice to know that we were making some kind of a contribution like that. I think it was around 1977. She had even had a trainer that worked for her at that time, Greg Struthers, trained some of her mules for packing, and they went down and participated in Bishop. So I'd actually heard about Bishop, but I had never really been there.
Before leaving to start a ranch in Colorado, Meredith decided to take a little trip that would alter the course of her life.
My two girlfriends and I decided that we wanted to go see what Bishop Mule Days was all about. Jenny and Donna and I decided to get together and go to Bishop for the first time. And we drove my Ranchero up through Lake Tahoe and went down 395, and three girls and just having a good old time. And one of us would drive and the other two would sit in the back of the Ranchero and get a suntan on the way down. So we had a lot of fun, you know, just on the trip over there was really cool.
Meredith's 7-hour road trip was a far cry from the early settlers' journeys in the California gold rush. In the mid-1800s, gold mining towns sprang up high in the rugged Sierra Mountains. These isolated communities depended on mule packs to transport every necessity through the dangerous terrain. Carrying loads of 200 to 400 pounds and averaging 20 miles a day, this tradition continued through the 1960s. In 1969, near disastrous snows fell in the Sierras. Local packers needed to make a showing for their bankers and designated a day for a parade and small show. 10 years later, Mule Days had grown into an annual Memorial Day celebration that began to draw people from around the country.
Bishop Mule Days was really something else compared to what it is now. And you could pick your seat in the grandstands. There weren't a whole lot of mules there. They had the packing contest primarily, I guess, and a few little events. They had mule races. It was really kind of a comical event more than anything. One of the things I remember the most about Bishop Mule Days 1979 was Jack Kopp and his mule Joker. This man had this mule trained so well, and he did so many different things. I was just absolutely amazed. I mean, he had him sitting up, he had him rolling barrels, the mule followed him everywhere, and he rode him without a bridle. But when they came to the end of the little exhibition, when he got out there and gave Joker one end of a jump rope and he took the other, and they had some kids come out of the stands, and they actually jumped rope with Joker on one end and Jack on the other. I was just floored. I thought that was the coolest thing that I had ever seen. The comment was made that Joker doing a better job of his end, Jack. There were several pack stations, probably at least 10, maybe 12 pack stations with these pack mules. And they decided it would be a really kind of a cool thing if they tied all the pack strings together. And so the wind-up of the whole Bishop Mule Days is when they brought in the 100-mule pack string, which barely fit in the arena. They had to keep going around and around and around, so they just kind of get them all in there. And the mules behaved phenomenally. They just take it all in stride, and they go, oh, you want to do this? Okay, this sounds like fun, you know. And it was so impressive that I swore that I had to go back. I had to go back.
Meredith and her young family made the move to Colorado. Soon after, Meredith's horses and a wobbly 2-week-old Lucky 3 Sundowner arrived at their new home. But they were still missing an important member of their team.
Little Jack Horner actually was born a few weeks after Sundowner. Donkeys don't haul real well, and they get stressed a lot more easily than a mule, so we thought it would be better if I went to Bishop in '81 and then went up north after Bishop and picked little Jack Horner up as a yearling. On the way home, we were going through Sparks, Nevada, and there was this truck and trailer behind us, and it was honking at us and honking at us. And I asked my husband, I said, who's this fool following us here? What does he want? So we pulled the truck and trailer over, and this other truck and trailer pulled over behind us, and out jumped this big heavy guy, and he goes, I just know you've got a Windy Valley Jack in the back of that trailer. And I said, you know what, you're right. And I said, who are you? And he goes, well, I'm Ernie Fanning. And he says, I bought some Windy Valley Jacks from your mom. And he says, boy, I'd know them anywhere. And we got into this great conversation on the road, and then we were on our way, and Ernie said, yeah, I'll see you in Bishop. Mule people find each other all over this country. In 1980, when we moved to Colorado, the ranch was only 10 acres and needed a lot of work. And we were very busy, my husband, my daughter, and myself. My daughter was 5 years old that year. But one of the first things we did do was seek out the local Mule and Donkey Association. And there was one called the Rocky Mountain Long-Ears Association. And they had some shows around here. And that was the beginning of our show career and learning about mules and learning the basics about showing. And we found that our mules did very well in the shows out here.
Meredith and her mules might have been on a winning streak, but they were about to get a big surprise at Bishop Mule Days. Welcome back to Those Magnificent Mules, The Road to Bishop. Now that Meredith and Lucky 3 Sundowner had had a taste of success at home, they were ready to take on competition at Bishop Mule Days.
So we decided that we would enter him in a halter class. How much trouble can you get in a halter class? Well, it was Sundowner. He liked to stand like a model, and that means the T-step in the back, and so he really didn't look all that great, you know, when he was out there in his halter class. Basically, he was okay. Of course, the competition was enormous, and I was severely humbled. I didn't win anything out there, even though I was sure I was going to because I won here. It just didn't happen. So I thought, okay, if I want things to be better, I'm just going to have to learn a little bit more and do a little bit better. I didn't have a lot of time to go take riding lessons or go to clinics or anything. We were trying to pull a ranch together here. There was loads of work to do. At that point in time, too, I thought it was going to be very important that I document what I did with photographs and videotapes to be able to watch and evaluate when I got home, so that the next year when I went back, I could have made some kind of improvement, even though I didn't get any lessons or go to any clinics or anything.
Meredith continued to train on her own. But once again, Bishop Mule Days would change everything.
One of the most phenomenal things that I did see that really got the bug going for me as far as English events and particularly dressage was an exhibition that was done by a woman out at Bishop in second-level dressage on a great big 16-hand mare mule, and it looked so beautiful. It just made me cry, and I thought, I want to be able to dance with my mules like that. And eventually we did get to a place where we could all start taking lessons from Melinda Weatherford in dressage, because by the time we did, we had determined that dressage really was the basis for all equine events. And if you go through the process slowly, making sure that your animal evolves in a comfortable way and develops his muscles properly, then they're going to perform better and they're going to do better for you. And that was how a lot of these people were winning, was that they were putting their time in doing the right kinds of things for their mules. But of course, then there weren't classes in dressage out there. So I had to talk to Carl Lind and say, I think we should have some dressage classes at Bishop too. Sundowner and I went there and competed at first level, but there were other people that had been doing it across the country too, so he didn't win. He didn't do very well. But that was another challenge, you know. That just showed me that, oh good, there's other people out here doing it, and I'm gonna be challenged. I competed again. I think it was second place at second level dressage. At the same time, a mule that was bred by Bonnie Shields called Dolly Barton was an all-around champion at Bishop Mule Days. And of course, she was in dressage too. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. You know, we're gonna be able to beat Dolly. But in 1992, Sundowner competed against Dolly Barton in third-level dressage, and he won. And I was just thrilled. And the next year I came back and I was hoping they'd have fourth level, but nobody had competed a mule to fourth level before. And Carl Lynn said, well, you're the only one that's gotten this high. You know, we can't add that class. That's just not going to be possible. So I did win third level dressage at Bishop, the World Championship, 2 years in a row, which was phenomenal for Sundowner. He was so proud of himself.
He's a mule skinner and a mule man.
At Bishop Mule Days, there's always a new skill to learn, a new adventure to get in on, a new contest to enter.
Side saddle was another event that kind of intrigued me. I saw Anne Hathaway riding Baby Huey in one of the parades. And they looked so gorgeous. And another lady that was riding side saddle at the time was Crystal Ward. Crystal was phenomenal. She was so good in side saddle that you just knew you weren't going to beat her. You know, we tried, we took lessons, I took clinics. I even got good enough to actually jump side saddle, which I was really scared to start with. And I could hardly keep myself in the middle of the mule sitting sideways as it was. My daughter got interested in it as well, and so we decided to go after Crystal Ward and try to give her some competition in the side saddle classes.
I think it's easier.
Bee was a good, solid animal for side saddle, and so I felt really confident putting my daughter on her. And I think we must have competed against her for probably 3 years before my daughter finally went out there and beat Crystal Ward in the side saddle class.
What happened?
I won.
Well, the
I beat the best side saddle rider there is.
All right.
And I don't know how I did it. No.
And what do you think of it?
I think she's awesome. Absolutely, positively awesome. That's why she rode and I didn't.
Up till now, only Meredith's mules were competing. But Bishop Mule Days was expanding the events open to donkeys. And little Jack Horner wanted in on the action.
LJ was a very congenial little Jack, and he had a lot of energy. Unlike a lot of donkeys, he was just kind of a unique human being, if you will. He would watch me training these mules, and he would stand there and bray, and I finally got the message. I want to do that too. So when I was doing reining with Sonny, I taught LJ how to do reining patterns too, and actually he got quite good at it. He was doing flying lead changes. He slid 15 whole feet, which is unheard of, without sliders on his back feet. He learned to jump. He got to second level dressage in his lateral work and his extensions. And that's very difficult for a donkey because a lot of them have a shuffle gait that isn't even really a walk, and it's not really a trot. So you've got to get the gait to come out because it's not even there. He got so good one year, I decided that maybe I will go ahead and enter him in all these donkey classes. And they had a donkey all-around championship thing, and I was certain that LJ could get that, you know, and so we went into the classes, and where he did reining perfectly at home, he decided it wasn't such a hot idea at Bishop. I think he got distracted or something. But I knew he knew how to do it, and that wasn't really a concern with me, but he did run out of the arena with me, and I asked for overs.
Is that all I get?
But he's always been a phenomenal competitor, and he did come back later and did an exhibition at Bishop where he actually jumped 4 feet in exhibition. I thought, if he wants to have a class all by himself, then that's what we'll do.
Meredith's love of long ears inspired her to refine her mule stock by searching out the best brood mares possible. But being different isn't always easy.
When I was talking about my mules not being really muley enough to win at Bishop, it was because people were used to perceiving mules in a certain way. The mules that they'd seen had been bred from culled mares. The worst of the mares with jacks were used. So they got kind of a stereotypical look to them. The long ears, the heavy eyebrows, the heavier joints, the smaller feet, big cumbersome bodies. And you have mules like mine that look like horses. Of course the judge isn't going to think that they're the best mule out there because that wasn't people's perception of mules at the time. Of course, as things have progressed in Bishop, mules have changed dramatically and are being bred from better mares, and now what you see is a wide variety of not just horsey mules and muley-looking mules, but thoroughbred mules that are very tall and sleek and have a certain look to them. Quarter horse mules that are more stocky and closer to the ground. They're starting to take on some more variety in the body styles and the types of mules that they are. And now they're able to judge them not as mules as a whole, but as these different types of mules. But that's only come with time, so it makes perfect sense that back then that my mules would not have won because they didn't look like mules, they looked like horses.
As a competitor at Bishop Mule Days, Meredith had always admired the English jumping events. Once she decided she wanted to compete, there was one person who would make her go the extra mile.
I've watched Lou Moore Jacobson for many, many years. She was my inspiration to get into the jumping. She's had numbers of phenomenal jumping mules and English mules that she's ridden. I would come home and try to do some of this stuff by myself, and it really wasn't happening. It was really very, very difficult. And I finally did end up taking lessons in jumping so that I could learn how to do it correctly. And then I just went back to Bishop and said, Lou Moore, watch out, here I come. Lou was riding Empress Josephine, which was a phenomenal jumping mule, always won. She just right up there in front. And I thought, you know, if I could ever just beat Josephine just once, I will have really reached the pinnacle of what I could do in the jumping class. And B did go out there one year, and it wasn't because I did better than Lou and Josephine, it was just because Josephine knocked a rail that year. Just a little tiny mistake which gave us the edge, and we got a first.
After this short break, those magnificent mules, the road to Bishop continues. So stay put. We'll be right back. A lot has changed since that fateful road trip in 1979. Bishop Mule Days has grown into a world-class event, and Meredith and her mules have grown right along with it.
I had never been to any mule events ever. That was really my first experience with mules and my first introduction to their sense of humor. At first being kind of a horse person and stuck on detail and serious training and everything, when I saw the mules running the other way in the races, I thought, what kind of a joke is this, you know? But you realize that there's a thread of humor that just is part of the whole association with mules. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it so different than a horse show. It makes it more relaxing and more enjoyable in a whole lot of ways because it's not so stiff and it's not so intimidating. They gave me the inclination that I really wanted to try and I really wanted to do better. And I think that happens when you have an environment like that where everybody's friendly. They're competitive, but they're also very helpful. And there's a friendship relationship involved above and beyond the competition itself. Today, I've gone through the gamut of being a novice, not know anything, let's suntan our way down to Bishop and watch everything that goes on, to being an exhibitor and learning all about all the responsibilities that come along with that. I've gone on to give clinics and seminars and judge in certain places. Even though I'm doing different things now, going to Bishop is like going back home to the reunion, to the family reunion every year. Hopefully, we keep bringing more people into this industry and keep promoting the mule and donkey, because so many years mules and donkeys have been very humble and very quiet about themselves. Even though they've helped build this country, they were always kind of in the background of all the pictures and everything. But Bishop is a place where they can really shine and be recognized for the wonderful, wonderful animals that they are. Bishop Mule Days is the best place to be this time of year, absolutely without a doubt. Nice people, good food, and a bunch of wonderful mules.
Come on, dude. This is a good tape. We're going to show this to kids someday.
Oh, no.
Tony?
Not great, son.
And from Obama, this is our best comedy burrow entry.
I wonder which is the bull and which is the mama, Doug.